Alrighty. 3, 2, and 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to Ever Live Jazz Hands, because you know you have to do it like that to get the full effect. This is the show where we talk all about video and live streaming for your business and beyond. If you don't know who I am, let me introduce myself. My name is Tachi, or Dr. Tachi. I'm a media professor, a filmmaker, a media content producer, and a journalist. And it's not just me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also joined by Curtis Brooks, CBMP.
Hello, everyone. Hey, what's happening?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dr. Tachi?
Good, looking mighty bright.
Oh, thanks. I feel bright.
Wow, the most lively I've seen you.
What is going on? How are you?
I'm good. And we have Ross Brand over on the LinkedIn Live side.
Hey,
and
Ross.
He says, hey to me and to you, Curtis.
Hey, Ross.
Oh, and also over on the Periscope side, we have Jose, also known as Sir Exile. How are you, Sir Exile?
What's going on, Jose?
Yes. As if, I don't know why I say things as if people are actually going to answer me, but I
know,
mean,
right?
like physically, like talk to me like, hey, Jose, and you're waiting. But I hope all is well. Thank you all so much for being here. To everybody, we're on several platforms. Those of you on LinkedIn Live, thank you for being here. On Periscope Live, thank you for being here. Those of you on YouTube, thank you for being here. And of course, those of you on Facebook Live, Gary Lanham is joining us on Facebook Live. How are you, Gary, the premier realtor in South Florida? And also Serena Wills. Have to say hello, Soror. Thank you for being here. Fantastic. So what are we doing today?
We are actually finishing up the last segment from 2 weeks ago, because did we do the show last week?
We did not, because you were enjoying yourself in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, somewhere, or wherever you were.
Anyways, yeah, we didn't do the show last week, so we're actually kind of covering the last segment from the show 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about choosing your camera, webcam, or something else.
Let's just go, because you're already, I can already see you're just.
But yeah, so we're finishing up that last segment, and that last segment is talking about
cameras.
Camcorders.
Yeah, the last one is camcorders. But what we said we were going to do was do a recap.
Absolutely.
Since it's been about 2 weeks. So let's do a recap in terms of these things. And you know what? This is not just a talk at you type of conversation. It's a two-way street. So feel free to ask questions. Also feel free to give some insight. I know, Ross Brand, you are a live streamer extraordinaire. So you probably have some insight into some different things. It's supposed to be, a learning environment. It is a tribal learning environment. So feel free to interject and to add things. So, right, MC. Sorry, right, Curtis?
Right.
I will never get over not calling you MC for this. I think you just have to deal with it. You're forever MC Curtis. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, that's what I call him on the show. We do on Wednesdays. He's MC Curtis. So I try, but most important thing is that we get this information out. So, okay, we're going to talk more about cameras today. We're going to finish up with camcorders, but I want to go through the first three. When you're live streaming or doing video, there are several different types of cameras that you can use. The key thing is to capture an image, but capture a good image. It's not just about the image. Other things matter as well. This is all building. Your setting matters. Your message matters, right? The sound matters. We haven't covered that in depth yet, but we will. Mr. Card Logic, hey, how are you? Welcome on the Periscope side. So let's start with what we talked about last time first, and phones. So the big thing that we talked about were the different types of phones that you could use to make your productions pop. Okay, you can use a phone. I know probably the question is, can you use a phone for creating video and like mobile filmmaking? You absolutely can, but you can't leave it as is. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked about the fact that if you're going to use a phone, for example, for mobile filmmaking, you want to make YouTube videos and put them up. You don't have any other camera, but you have your phone. Phones nowadays, especially the smartphones, have very good optics. Very good cameras.
Excellent cameras, absolutely.
Excellent cameras. But the key thing, you have to kit it up and you have to use enough light. If you're in the dark, yeah, you're going to see grains like grains of rice because you don't have enough light.
Right.
So you need to have enough light. And we talked about having, a window or supplemental lights to do that. We'll get into lighting later. That was just to help you with the camera end of it. So we talked about that. We talked about the fact that the iOS is on 10. Sorry, no, 11. 11. It's the Android that's on 10, and 11 will probably be out soon. So iOS 11 is out. That has a decent camera. I am more of a fan of Samsung cameras because the camera image is better. I don't care. You all can argue me down, but I will argue you down as a filmmaker that the camera is much better. So, but at the end of the day, you still have to, if you're going to do it for mobile filmmaking or mobile video making, or, even you could get away with it for live streaming because the images are really pretty good and high res. But as far as doing a video that you're going to upload somewhere later, yes, you can use it, but you probably will need extra lenses. You will need a housing of some sort, like we talked about the iographer housing. We talked about the help me, the company in California. You know what I'm talking about. It will come to me. The company in California that does it, that has a lot of stands and tripods and.
Oh, Manfrotto?
No.
No.
He does a lot of live streaming stuff. Manfrotto has some stuff too, but I don't know that you want to pay Manfrotto prices.
Right.
Manfrotto is pretty expensive. Absolutely. And then we talked about, I tried to remember, it is right on the tip of my tongue. If anybody knows it, please help me. Please help.
You want to read your mind? Yeah, tell her.
Well, I know, right? Somebody. Mark Ward, Mark Ward, Mark Ward, how are you? Mark Ward says, I like doing live streams in the dark, just a voice in the night. I don't like wardrobe and appearance pressure. Well, you know what? The thing is, you're joking, but that's really a thing. There are a lot of people that do, quote, dark scopes or dark live streams, which can work if that works for your audience, right? It was what people did prior to the voice only on Periscope or the voice only on Facebook Live. But now you can opt to do just voice. Thank you. Sir Exile said it. Archon Mounts. You win.
Oh, yes.
You win a smile. Because that's all I have to give you today. But anyway, maybe sometime in the future we'll have giveaways. But for today, you get my lovely smile. So thank you. Archon Mounts is another one that we talked about. And there was one other that we talked about that Yolanda Lattimore gave us. It will come to me. Joystick.
Okay.
Yeah. Joystick, JOI stick. Carlos Phoenix is here. Welcome, Carlos, on Carlos, the Facebook Live side. Carlos is awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for being here. And so remember, if you have any questions, any comments, please put them in. So that was a big help. Thank you. The Archon mounts and the joystick. So there are others, and there are others that, are not popularly used that you can probably find on Amazon or any, other place. It's probably going to be cheaper on Amazon. I'm always a fan of that. Where you don't have to spend excess money, do not.
You get it next day or next couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you have Prime and you're ready, you're eager to start. Like we are all eager to start right away. So we talked about that. We talked about the fact that the iPhone, the Samsung, the Pixel, the Google Pixel, and the Huawei P30 Mate. Which again, there's a whole big thing with China and imports and such now. So we're not sure whether or not the next version is going to be readily available in the U.S. But as we get more information, we'll let you know on that. So those were 4 of the ones that are popular that have pretty decent cameras. Again, if you want a better quality, you'll need to get lenses, you'll need to get a housing, you'll need to get stability, you'll need to use microphones. The onboard mic is not going to be enough. I'm always a fan of using external microphones. Yeah, MC Curtis?
Yeah, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, certainly. You're going to need some kind of external audio feeding into those mobile devices. Absolutely.
And audio will kill you, especially if you are trying to. Audio will, know this, MC. Audio will kill you. It is, especially if you're trying to get into that is the defining factor between people who get into film festivals with stuff and people who don't. We may be able to forgive you for an image that's a little off kilter, but sound is unforgivable. So
absolutely.
make sure you have good. When we talk about sound, we'll give you some mics that work with mobile, some mics that work with what's called a preamp, so that you can use a regular mic with your mobile devices. Yeah, you can do that. Bet you didn't know. But you can use the mics that you have with your mobile devices. You just have to have a preamp. So we'll talk about that when we get to sound. And then we talked about the pros and the cons of that. The pro being, this is so far away from me. Hold on. I look like I'm looking off into the Caribbean someplace. So the pros being that are relatively available and readily available because you probably already have a phone. Use what you have, start where you are. The fact that image quality is usually quite good. Lighting, remember, lighting. Also, the portability. If you're someplace that you need to get a good picture, but it's too much to carry a DSLR or mirrorless or whatever with you, go ahead and take this. Just make sure that you have a good professional selfie stick with you, or whatever the case may be. And then the cases for mobile make it really easy to carry around, where you don't have to use your arm and get tired that way. The cons can be the expense. If you don't have the most of you still on if you're still on iPhone 3, this is not for you.
Right.
If you're still on iPhone 4, this is not for you. So you may have to invest in another mobile device, which can be, if you have a plan that allows you to upgrade to something that's a little heftier, then that can work. Otherwise, there's the expense of that. Also, the overheating. Phones will overheat if you're running them for long periods of time. So if you're out in the sun and you're running it constantly, expect to overheat. And then also the lack of lenses. That's one thing. The lack of you have a stationary lens. You can get other lenses, but you don't have to. It's. And if you're going to be doing a lot of mobile filmmaking, then they have the how the iographer has housings and casings where you can attach the lenses and such, which is great if you're going to be doing a lot of that. But they could be expensive. They could be expensive. So
yeah, pretty much so.
Absolutely. Carlos has this. Carlos says, we offer a product called LiveView. Yeah, we know about LiveView. It uses cellular technology. We have special unlimited. Yeah, yes, exactly. Bonding. We have special unlimited data pricing. It's not cheap to use, but if it's a job, then it's worth it. Let me know if you want more info. Thank you for putting that in Facebook, Carlos. Absolutely. It is worth it. Here's the thing that you have to think about with all of these things. What is your end result? Absolutely. Are you doing this for a company? Or are you just doing this for yourself? If you're doing this for a company and you say, oh yeah, I could do this, this, and this, then damn well you better deliver and be able to do it. And that means having the proper and correct tools.
Yeah, interesting, because I was just thinking before Carlos mentioned, I was just thinking that is that even if you're doing video for yourself, your own product or something that you're posting about your services or products that you offer, posting them on social media, the more and more you start working with video, even from a mobile perspective, the more you want to. I don't know. It's just, for me, it was that natural progression. You just want to get more serious with it. And so then you end up purchasing a digital camera. So from there, you might purchase a Red. I don't know. But I think there's a natural progression if you're getting serious about it. And so if you are getting serious about it, you certainly want to figure out how you're going to monetize it.
Absolutely. And you brought up something really interesting. We're going to get into that when we get into the things, but let me mention it now. The fact he brought up the Red. So for those of you that don't know, the Red is a professional cinema camera that shoots in a RAW format. What does that mean? The RAW format looks like a completely flat image. There's not very much color, and you have to kind of bring it to life by painting it, by colorizing it, by giving it more depth. So that's a RAW format. Cameras shoot in RAW formats as well. The Red, the photography cameras, the Red shoots in a RAW format, which bothers me. The first documentary I shot was with a Red, and it's a RAW. I don't feel like sitting here and coloring it. So again, and result. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on down the line. But the point of me bringing that up is you don't necessarily have to spend Red. I would suggest not buying a Red or a cinema camera unless you know, even that, rent it. People in the industry rent these things.
Absolutely.
Because the technology changes so much. Now, I'm not talking about using your phone and that type of thing. I'm talking about when you're trying to do a high-end video production. Everybody rents things because the technology changes too much that if you buy something each time, and it's a lot cheaper to rent it. So you plan your shoot days, you plan when you're going to do it, you rent it for 3 to 7 days, and then you send it back and you've got your stuff. You just have to be very well planned. So I just wanted to put that in, that there's always the option to rent some of these things if you're not at the point where you can buy. So Rita says, I have friends that do a lot of lives for their businesses and the reception is not good where they are and the pictures are not as clear. Oh.
Yeah, that's a double whammy there.
But, sometimes people think, oh, well, people will watch. No, they won't. No, we won't.
Yeah, that's a double whammy there.
It is. It's a double whammy. It's terrible. You need to respect your audience enough to say,
absolutely,
I am going to put my best foot forward. Now, respecting your audience doesn't mean that you have to spend $50,000 on your equipment. That's not it. Respect your audience says, to the best of my ability, I am going to put the best content, the best image, and the best sound, and everything else associated with video and live stream out there that I can possibly do. If you're famous, you might be forgiven.
Right.
Fame will erase a lot of these things, but
it kind of goes back to what we said a little while ago about being intentional. Is that, when you are shooting a video or a live stream, if you're doing a pre-recorded video or shooting live stream, is that you want to make sure that there's the least amount of distractions in front of you, or in your shot, if you will, so that you are the focal point. But then, yet you want to make sure that you are bringing valuable content to your viewers. So again, just making sure that there's the least amount of distractions in your shot will do a whole lot in regards to helping your audience keep focus and making you the center of attention.
Right. Absolutely. So the less, and that's something that we talked about when we talked about setting a few weeks ago, probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago now, when we talked about that. By the way, all of these things are up on Curtis Brooks Media Productions, so you can take a look at older episodes of what we talked about. I think this is episode 5 now. I could be right.
I think that's right. I think you're right.
Yeah, so you can take a look at the other 4 episodes and we talk about some of these things in depth, in some level of depth. So just wanted to mention that, didn't want to get off track, but we like tangents on this show, clearly.
Yeah, we do.
So the other cons to this, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, is the fact that it's not really adjustable, but particularly during a live stream, you can't really adjust it. So you have to just be careful with that. The zooming in and zooming out is not that great because phones were not necessarily made for this type of thing. We're just able to use apps and things to, like one app, Filmic Pro, we talked about, right? Filmic Pro for your mobile device. Right. And so that's something that can extend your capabilities with video if you like. So there are apps that can do this, but remember, it's digital. It's a digital format, and you only have a little bit of leeway with digital things, So also streaming eats up your battery. We talked about that before. Streaming and video in general, but streaming especially, live streaming will eat up your battery. So your phone gets hot, your device gets hot, and your battery power is low. So what we did not mention, we did talk about this, that, you could extend your battery life by using a battery pack and power bank, right?
Yeah, correct.
You can, but there's an issue with this. I'm a fan of using good sound, which means I'm a fan of using an external microphone. You cannot have an external mic and a power bank plugged up at the same time, or any type of power. You will get the humming and buzzing and crackling. So it's one or the other, unfortunately, with that. So that's what you have to be careful of. So those are the things we talked about with phones. It's basically the same thing with your mobile device in terms of a tablet. The same things kind of apply. The thing is, you do have a larger screen, so you're able to see more of the surface area of what's going on. So you could see if things are focused, if there's something funky in back of you, or if something that needs to be removed, right? So it acts kind of like a monitor. So that's a good thing. But the other con is, again, the picture quality. Tablets have terrible cameras. You could fix a lot of things with lights, but they have really bad cameras. I'm sorry. So if you are using a tablet, my suggestion is you need a lot of light. You can fix some of that pixelation and graininess with the light, but and you're going to need a lot of it. So just be careful. So it works better for outdoor shots, or if you have a lot of external light, right? Be in front of a window. Plus have some lights. Okay. The leeway, the zooming in and out thing is the same problem with the phone. So, and you get the same problem with plugging in a power bank. So it is what it is. So that's what we talked about with tablets. Anything to add, Curtis?
No, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you very much. By the way, let me take a break now and say hey to everybody who's joining us. My name is Tachi. This is Curtis. We call him MC Curtis sometimes. This is And We're Live. It's a show where we talk all about live streaming and video for your business and beyond. So today we're recapping what we talked about 2 weeks ago, since we were off last week, with cameras, and then we're going to talk about camcorders. Okay, yes, thank you. I like how you back me up with it.
Of course.
Here's the camcorders. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's see. Carlos Phoenix says Teradek also does bonding. We offer that technology as well. Yeah, Teradek does. Absolutely. Gail Taylor, welcome on Facebook Live. And Carlos actually brings up a really good point. He says, if you want to do filmmaking, you can use the Beast Grip and attach a Canon or a Nikon lens. Now, that is a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. That allows you to use, it's all about the glass, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to a proper image, the glass is going to be or the lens is going to be what gives you that beautiful, sharp image. In fact, most lenses, there are many lenses that cost more than cameras. The one I'm eyeing now is super expensive, huh?
I said, say that one. Yes.
I have two. There's one I'm eyeing now that I really want that is like, ooh, yeah, not today. So
Wow.
So let's just lay hands on it and hope that it comes my way. Sometimes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is webcams. We talked about that last week. We can't show you our webcams because that's actually what we're using to stream right now. But there are several different types of webcams, but three that are the most popular and the ones made by Logitech, which are the C920 and C922. I believe you're. Thank you for the backup.
Yeah.
Like the Supremes. I think that's cute. You're using the C930, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Microsoft makes a good webcam as well. And then there's one called Osdom that makes one. And it looks like to me, it looks like a camera that is a security camera, but those are the three top ones, that
I've
have been.
Heard that one before.
Yeah. It's not as well known, and probably because you order it more so than you see them in stores. So you'll always see a Microsoft one. You'll always see the Logitech if you go to Best Buy, but you won't see the Osdom. So that's another one. But so the pros is it gives you just decent image quality. It's plug and play. All of these standard versus wide you can play with. There are some settings, and there is, especially for the ones we use. We both use Logitech. The Logitech comes with software that allows you to play with brightness, white balance, and all the things that you could do on a normal camera. I mean, it gives you a little bit of leeway, right? It gives you the zoom capabilities depending on the model you have. It's affordable. They're very affordable. You can get some as cheap as $30-something, right? And then it has the capability to have audio. I would never trust it for the audio, though.
Yeah, this C930 has audio too in it. Horrible.
If that's all you have, well then, damn it, that's all you have. But if you're going, look, if we're talking about doing this seriously, then we need to use the tools of the trade, right? That's why we're giving this to you right now. So the cons that we talked about were the digital control was It's digital, no manual, so you don't get as sharp. You can get pixelated. It requires a computer, obviously, which if Yolanda was here the last time, and she does a lot of cooking shows, so it can be problematic unless you have a long enough cord. If you're using a webcam in your computer, you don't want to spill anything, or if you're in a situation that there's water or moisture, that could be problematic. So that could be a con. Also, the sound is inadequate, as we were saying, and you have to be stationary if you're using a webcam. You cannot. There are different types of cameras that we talked about, like the Mevo, for example, that is like a stick with a camera on it, basically, that allows you to be somewhat mobile. But you cannot be mobile with these types of webcams. Doesn't work. And the image quality is not always the best. It's decent. Let's put it there.
I think I was sharing with you, I think the C922, even the C920 is better than the C930. And the C930E costs more money. And the image is okay, but I think the C922 or the 20 is better than this one here.
So what makes it better? Qualify that, sir.
I think the lighting source that because this has I think this has a Carl Zeiss lens.
Okay.
But I don't know all the behind the scenes that goes on with it, but I think it's just the lighting here for the C920 or the C922 brings just a better overall better image. Brings in a lot better. This one here is kind of a more of a wide angle lens.
Yeah, it is a wide angle lens. And you know what? The thing is, I like a wide angle lens because it allows you to get more of the image inside. I happen to like a wide angle lens. I notice there's too much headroom above I didn't notice that before. But anyway, so I'm like, let me sit up a little. But some people like a tighter image. And so what it means is that, with the C920 and C922, you can go widescreen or you can go standard. So it brings it a little closer. But I happen to like the widescreen. I always like widescreen because I like the image to be sprawling a little bit. But that's me. That's a personal choice. So that's what we talked about. So then the next thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago was DSLR versus mirrorless. And who do I have here? Hold on, guys. I'm not leaving the frame. I'm bringing my friend with me. Okay, don't spill water. We don't have time for that. Okay, look who I brought with me today. Yay.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Well, it was set up because I was doing something. So I said, oh, perfect. So it's already set up. So this is my mirrorless camera. West Hill is here. Thank you, West Hill, for being here.
West Hill.
And inviting followers on the Periscope side. You guys rock. Thank you so much. So this is my friend. Hi, how are you? This is the Canon. Sorry, not the Canon. Sorry, I have a Canon too. Well, had a Canon. This is the Panasonic GH4. It is a great cinematic camera. It's a mirrorless. So let's talk about the difference really quickly between mirrorless and DSLR cameras. So the DSLR camera, I had one, the Canon 7D. It uses a mirror to invert the image so you can see what you see. A mirrorless camera does not have that, making it a lot lighter. It's just a great little camera. I've shot all sorts of things. Remember, Curtis, I told you I shot Bomani Jones from ESPN?
Yes, absolutely.
This is the camera I used to do the interview with Bomani Jones.
Okay, nice.
So I've shot also, and you were with me in Atlanta when we did all that stuff at the Atlanta Pitch Summit.
Yeah.
And Jimmy John Louis.
Yes.
So we've shot a lot of famous people with this camera. He says, who that you brought with you? This is my friend GH4. We call her G for short. Aww. So, shut up. No, we don't do mushy here, no. But so as you can see, I've got a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff, a little bit of stuff on it. I have a medium lens on it now. I've also got a telephoto lens that I use with this. Let me turn it around. I took out the battery, as you can see, because I was charging it because I was going to use it later. But you need, let's talk about the pros and cons. So I'll bring it back up later. Okay, you stay right here, all right? Don't go anywhere. So, you foresight, what's up? How are you? What happened?
I said, starts walking off.
If it was, no, the broadcast will end. We pay too much money. You're not going anywhere. You don't go anywhere. I don't go. Okay. Hey, Kwase, how are you? I don't know if I said your name right, Kwase or Kase. Please on LinkedIn. How are you? Let's see. What mic are you using, MC?
The RE20.
And who's it by? Is it Shure?
No, it is not by Shure. It is
Audio Technica.
No. Electro Voice. Had to look on the site.
Okay, Electro Voice.
Electro Voice.
Yeah. No worries. So yeah, that is the broadcaster mic he is using. So fantastic. Thank you for the question. Thank you so much for the question. All right. So let's talk about that. I showed you my mirrorless camera. Actually, you just got the same one, right, Curtis?
I did.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let's talk about the different types. There are different types, but these are the 4 that we would recommend getting because these are the 4 that will work also with live stream. What I will say though is you need to make sure that your particular camera, DSLR or mirrorless, will work with the device. So you have to use a capture device to make it work with live stream, okay, to turn it into a webcam. Canon, Panasonic, Nikon, and Sony. I'm sure that but these are the 4 that I know for sure will work, okay? So the Canon, the 5D series, 5D Mark III, etc. They're the cinema cameras. I don't know if they'll work with live streaming, but I know that the 5D will work with the live streaming. The 5D Mark III and up will work with that. Go ahead.
In my research, I know there were some Canons that lasted for live streaming. They only lasted for like 30 minutes.
Okay, well, let me tell you why. DSLRs, those cameras in particular, they were not made to, and not to call me. I apologize. I don't know why people are calling me. We have to put it on silent. So they were not made for continuous video. Right. So I had a Canon 7D. The Canon 7D would shut down on me after 25 minutes of shooting because it overheats. That's a problem with some DSLR cameras, that they will overheat. There's a lot of mechanisms inside, and it's one thing if you're just shooting images, but to constantly run it, you're going to run into the fact that the mechanisms work hard, it overheats, it's going to shut down. And there's a little temperature gauge that will let you know it's going to shut down. I try to ignore it, but it always shut down anyway. So West Hill says a lot of people are looking for this information that you're giving. Oh, thank you. Well, then, damn it, they need to be here.
Missing out,
yo. Missing out. See, and then be the main ones complaining about not knowing things when we're giving it to you. We are giving it to you.
Sir Exile says some power banks use wireless charging, though, like the Mophie brand.
Yes, but you're still going to get a buzzing problem. You're still going to get a buzzing problem because that's
going to be the interference.
In fact, it's going digital. To be worse with a wireless. You're going to get that interference.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a problem. So you're going to have to A, make sure you're charged up. B, take breaks if you really. Okay, so let's look at this. How long do you actually need to be on? Are you trying to live stream the entire congressional? Nobody wants to see that. I'm just going to let's be clear. Let me just be real. Unless it's something that's very compelling, nobody wants to see 2 or 3 hours of continuous live stream. Unless it's, and I shouldn't say that. There are some people, but the masses probably will not. You will get a lot of people coming in and out. So you need to take things in segments. My suggestion: go out and come back in. Right. Say, all right, well, we're going to take a little break, come back in. Because what's going to happen, if you're trying to retain those people you have, you may lose them anyway because it's taking too long. We don't have that much patience, y'all. Go ahead.
Or even, I was just thinking for something like that, or even periodically just offer some kind of commentary along with it.
If you can. It depends if you're somewhere where you can do that. If you're if you're videotaping something that is public and you're not able to give commentary, that's where the problem comes.
Gotcha.
But you make a great point. If you can give commentary, go ahead and do that. Absolutely. Exactly. Well, so yes, marathons. You see me shaking my head? That's no. On LinkedIn, I want to say your name right. Is it Kwase? Is saying He says, thank you for the information about your microphone, and asked, are these cameras portable if you want to do LinkedIn and other places? I mean, easy to hook up when live event. You know what? You're able to take any of them anywhere. The difference is going to be if you're staying stationary or if you're moving around. Mobile devices like your phone are going to be much better for you if you're doing it solo. If you are moving around, you're at an event where you have to move around, you could use something like a professional selfie stick or help me, Curtis, gimbal. You're no help.
No, I'm sorry. I'm responding to their comments over on Pearson.
Oh, okay. So, or you're using something like a gimbal. Okay, so you need some kind of stabilizer. You can absolutely do that if you're mobile. Something like the webcam plus a laptop doesn't give you very much mobility. So if you're in the field doing a live stream where you don't need to move around, that can work. But if you have to move around with a webcam, that will be a problem. With a DSLR or mirrorless, actually, now, so here's the thing. They're not necessary. They have gimbals for these. They're not cheap.
You do. Not at all.
$500 each for a gimbal that will hold a mirrorless or a DSLR. So they're not cheap, but they're helpful. But there are other things that you can do. These were, this mirrorless is more portable than a DSLR will be. The DSLR gets heavy. Trust me, I have done handheld DSLR work. I've done handheld work since the beginning of my video and film career. And it's hard. We've even did some handheld red. Boy, was that heavy. We can only do a few seconds at a time, a little bit at a time. But you can. The thing is, this has to be, it's not portable. That's another thing. I mean, you can't move around with it. So you can go off site and be in the field with it, but it's like the webcam, you're not going to be able to do things with it. Now, here's the thing. If you are on site and you have a wireless setup, like a Sling Studio, right? Or a Teradek, like Carlos was mentioning. Mm-hmm. Or Live View, right? They have wireless transmitters on them. So you can move around wirelessly. You'll just have to have somebody with you to run it. You wouldn't be able to do everything by yourself. It would be very difficult to do everything by yourself, right? So if you're moving around, say my favorite place, NAB in Las Vegas, one of the largest media shows in the world, you could take this with you and go around, but you would need to have somebody else running it, right? So you'd have to think about that. And also think about the fact of wireless capabilities and how far away you could get from it while still having a sharp image. So those are some other things that you have to think about as well. There's a lot to consider. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, and it's the reason why they call it production, because essentially that's what it is. It is a production. And so you're going to need several hands to put on a broadcast, or, to do a professional broadcast, something that's worthy of its, the content that you're delivering. And so it's just kind of, and one other piece about the Live View and then the Teradek is that you can use and we haven't talked about this either, but now that Carlos mentioned it, but you can,
since you brought it up, Carlos.
Yeah, right. You can, I mean, if you would essentially need bonding, especially if you're doing a broadcast in a place where it's populated like NAB or what's the other program or venue?
Oh, CES. Yeah, CES. Mm-hmm. Consumer Electronics Show. NAB is National Association of Broadcasters show.
Right. And if you're doing, or any kind of convention, a lot of times where there's a lot of digital equipment, electronic devices, wireless devices, so you would definitely need more than one. What is it called? The card.
The SD card?
No, not the SD card. The little device that you
the capture card
that you hook in for capture the wireless signal from your like if you're with AT&T, I can't remember what they're called.
Oh, your kind of like a hotspot.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So you would actually need a couple of those, be honest, because you potentially can run into the interference. And so that's what the bonding is like. So if you got, let's just say on one of the cards, you got like two gigabytes or something like that. You might need 4, you might need 5, I don't know, but what the bonding does, it's going to bond or bind those.
Yes, please explain, because some people are probably like, bonding, like weave. Go ahead.
Right. That's funny. But yeah, so what the binding does, the binding is going to bind those networks together. Though they're separate, but it's just going to bond the bandwidth. That's what I'm looking for.
And you'll actually get a stronger signal because of that. So,
exactly. And it'll be obviously less potential interference when you are live streaming. So that's the reason why.
And that's what you want. If you're going to be doing this for real, you definitely want to look at that. Definitely want to look at that. So let me go to Facebook for a minute. We have a couple of people that have joined. Jose has joined us over on this side as well. Zenovdia, did I say it right? Says, hello, Mr. Curtis.
Hey, Z, what's going on?
I hope I said your name properly. Help me, Curtis.
I think, yeah, that's what I say. I just call her Z.
Okay. I will not do that, because I will not take the liberty. She put her whole name in, so that's what I will call her.
Well, no, I call her Z because I don't know how to.
Because you can't pronounce her name?
Yeah.
Well, did you ask her? Anyway. Brad Llewellyn, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all. For those of you who are just joining us, and we're live. It's a show where we talk all about video and live streaming for your business and beyond. I'm Tachi. I am joined with my co-host Curtis, and we do this every Wednesday 2-ish on several different platforms, which we will talk about after the fact. All right, so let's do this. We'll continue to talk about, because we have to get to the actual camcorder part of it, right?
We do.
All right, so let's go through the pros about using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera is that you get that shallow depth of field we talked about 2 weeks ago. Shallow depth of field means that the background is blurry. What it actually is how far you can get away from the lens and everything is still in focus, okay? So the farther that you can get away from the lens and the background is still in focus, okay? That's what happens on most other cameras. However, with the DSLR, you can set it so that you get just a little bit away from the camera, but you don't have the background in focus, but your subject is in focus. And that's a shallow depth of field. So it makes for a great cinematic and professional look if you want to do that. It's great. Great quality for streaming, obviously. It looks professional. It looks like you took your time with it, and you can change lenses. And because it looks so great, it's repurposable. That's the thing. As long as you have a strong signal, if you're live streaming, you're going to be able to repurpose this and it will look great. Okay, so the shallow depth of field thing is also a problem with DSLRs and with mirrorless cameras, because the moment you move, you may go out of focus. So you have to be careful with that.
Right. You got this
go ahead.
Window. No, I was just saying, I'm totally in agreement with you. You got this little window though. You got to kind of.
It's such a little window. So if you're not moving around very much, you're good. But if you're moving around a lot, you've got to be careful. It also goes with the lens that you have. You know, the depth of field is also determined by your lens. So if you only have one, you may have a problem with that. Also, it's best for shorter shoots. The DSLR is, because remember, the overheating problem, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and you're done, basically. Right. You don't have that problem with the mirrorless. Come here, mirrorless. So my Canon Panasonic GH4 does not have this problem. Panasonic should pay us. We don't have this problem because it only goes with as long as you. So, for example, if you are doing a shoot where you're just shooting video and you're not live streaming, if you have a 128 gig card, you could go out for quite a while, depending on the setting you have on this. So if you have a high setting, like you're trying to make something really good cinematic quality, or you're using, this is also a 4K camera. Right. This will shoot 4K video. And there's an extender that comes at the bottom. There's an actual name for it, and I can't remember right now, that gives you full HDMI, so you don't have to use the mini HDMI cable, which means the image can come out of this and go to your laptop or go someplace else, right? Or go so that you can stream. So it has an attachment so you can use full HDMI. It has an attachment so that you can also use an XLR microphone, which means it has the three-pronged input, right? So the attachment, I'll have to bring that next week so that you all can see. The attachment that comes with it you can put in 2 XLR microphones. How cool is that? And monitor the levels.
Wow,
how
that's
cool
great.
is that? That's really great.
That's awesome.
Okay, so the downside with this is obviously this runs off of a battery. You could get something called a battery grip, which will allow you to put 2 batteries in at once, and when one goes, it automatically switches to the other battery. That works for Canon, that's for Sony Alpha, that's for all of them. So what you want to look for is called a battery grip. You can put in more than, I think I've seen battery grips with 4, but the more common ones are with 2. So you put 2 batteries in there, and it allows you to run for a longer time, because once one is drained, it automatically switches to the other. So obviously the fact that it's a battery, is a little bit of a downside as well, that these run off of batteries. There's a big learning curve to these. They're not simple point and shoot cameras. You have to have a little bit of knowledge, which you can learn on YouTube University, absolutely. You have to have a little bit of knowledge to start to use this, but it's easy enough to learn if you are interested in it. I think so. The expense, obviously. So now we're talking about DSLR. You don't have to go with a high-end DSLR, or sorry, high-end mirrorless like this. There are DSLRs. So the Canon T6i, I believe it's a T6. I don't think there's an I after, but I think it may be the T6i. You could get a T3i for like $200, $300, at the high end $400. So that's a great entry level for DSLR cameras.
But do you have to worry about them cutting off in 30 minutes? So?
Yes, you do. But I'm saying it's entry level. So if you're if you're streaming for less than, say you're only doing 20-minute streams, that could work. If you're shooting video and you're doing takes, and you're only doing takes that are like a few seconds each, you're fine. You should be good with those. But if you're trying to live stream for any length of time, you're going to get into a problem with DSLRs. So just think about that.
No more questions. No Q&A.
Thank you. No Q&A. We don't have time. The camera's about to shut off. Peace and love and hair grease and all of that. So you're going to have to be very planned with your time if you're going to do that. So Jose asked a question on Periscope and said, LinkedIn Live, and says, is it silent? Meaning, do they make noise when recording? Excellent, excellent, excellent. So with the DSLR, the Canons in particular, you are going to get, the mirrorless are more silent. Mm-hmm. I don't think silenter is a word, but they're more silent. You don't hear the buzzing of the motors turning in it. With DSLRs, you do. So if you have for example, you're shooting video and you have a microphone that is on camera, like a shotgun, you're going to hear the motor. So there is the option of taking that out in editing, but I'm not a fan of fixing things in editing unless you have to. The big thing is start doing it right from the beginning, shoot right from the beginning, and you won't have to clean up things, if that makes any sense.
You did not like editing, huh?
No, I love editing. I think I'm a damn good editor, but what I don't like is having to fix things that are unfixable. So lighting, it's very difficult to fix bad lighting in editing. You can fix it to a degree, but the best thing is just have proper lighting in the first place. Same thing with sound. You can fix bad sound, but then you're going to get distortion of voices. So what you want to do is have good sound in the first place. So Jose, to your point, to your question, yes, you will hear the motor on certain cameras, particularly with the Canons. The DSLRs, you will hear them if this is what you were talking about. Kusei. Okay, thank you. Not Kwase, Kusei. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, Kusei asks, how long is the memory and the battery? So it depends on what mode you're shooting in. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah. So if you're shooting 4K, the memory is going to run out very quickly. You may have only a couple of minutes, depending on how large your SD card is. Or if you're using an older DSLR, like a Canon 7D, they use something called compact flash. Okay, so you just have to know what mode you're shooting in, and that's like going to be another conversation. So again, the quick answer to that is it depends on what mode you're shooting in.
And just real quick, Jose here on Facebook says, will you guys touch bases on the topic of live streaming with drones?
Oh, Yeah, we can. We could do a whole other live stream about that. We absolutely can if you would like that, because it's what you guys like as well. Let me tell you something about drones, though, really quickly. And hi, Brigetti.
Now,
How are
you
you?
have a drone, right?
Not yet. I'm getting a drone.
Okay, I thought you.
No, because I've been fiending for a drone
right. Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the funny thing is, the drone that I actually wanted to get from where I was gonna got sold. So I'm like, okay, back to square one. But drones are great when you're trying to take big, wide, sweeping panoramic shots. That's really the fact of having a drone is that it can fly, so you can get to places where you could not with a normal camera, right? That's the thing. But here's the thing that I don't like about overly drone shots, that sometimes people are like, oh, this is cool, I have a drone, I'm going to throw it in my production. Why? What is the purpose of having it? That's I've seen this a lot, particularly, I work with a lot of realtors.
Right.
So because of doing video and social media for real estate, you see a lot of drone work, which is great. You need to see the neighborhood, you need to see all that, but this is what happens. And it's great because you can come inside and you've got these sweeping shots, but then what happens is every realtor's video starts to look the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would totally agree with you. I think the drones really make great for establishing a shot or a community location, and just to let that, the viewers or the buyers know where they're at, or just kind of give them an overhead view. But it can be too much, because I've seen videos even on YouTube where they've just kind of gone crazy with the shots, so you've got the, and at some point it becomes confusing, because essentially with live stream or even with the video, you're telling a story. So you want to make sure that story is collaborating. It's succinct, if you will. So you're going from the outside, and now you're going from the inside, and you're going back to the outside.
You bring up an excellent point. Yeah. So we probably need to do a live stream about telling the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because we've covered the content, but we haven't actually talked about telling a story with live streaming and video. Yeah. And there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think you could take liberties with that, but the audiences are used to linear ways of thinking. So you have to think about that whenever you shoot anything. And so ask yourself, and Jose, this is an excellent question. Ask yourself, why do I need a drone? Can I get this same shot or the same look with something? I mean, obviously, aside from doing an overhead or aerial shots, can I get the same message out there with something else so that I don't look like everybody else? I think you have to ask yourself what your end result is, and do I need this? It's the same thing, and this is another thing where, my thing is, I always ask people when they tell me they want to come and do a PhD, I ask them why. Why do you need a PhD? Do you need a PhD for what it is you want to do?
Because they want to stand out.
But does it make you stand out?
No, I'm just messing with you, because I know.
See, don't take me there. Don't take me there.
I know how you are about that subject.
But you bring up an excellent point. People do the same thing with drone photography and drone videography. They want to stand out. But does it make you stand out when every damn body has a PhD from Groundwater University?
Right.
Does it make you stand out when everybody is doing drone shots? And that does not mean I'm anti-drone. I'm pro-drone, but I'm pro-proper drone use as well.
Yeah, too much drone. Too much drones,
exactly. and that's it for drone. Okay, so now let's get off of that. That was all a recap of what we talked about 2 weeks ago. And I know it took us a long time to recap, but we wanted to go back, and for some of you that were not here the last time. So hopefully that was helpful. So now the last type of camera that we're going to cover today is camcorders, right? The good old-fashioned camcorder. Right.
Absolutely.
You can use, and it's probably easier to pair your camcorder than it is a DSLR with things that, it's a little bit easier. It just depends. So, I forgot to say that you're going to need a capture card with any of these devices. If you're using a camcorder or a DSLR, you're going to use a capture card, unless your camcorder says that it will pair so that you can use it as a webcam. Some of them do.
Yes, absolutely.
Some of the newer ones do. David Benjamin Eccles, welcome. He's on the Periscope side. Thank you for being here. Hey, he says, hey, you two.
Hey.
So unless you have one of the newer ones that actually will pair with your computer and allows you to use it as a webcam, you're going to need to use something called a capture card. That's the same thing for a mirrorless and a DSLR. And what it does is it converts that signal into something that your computer could use and allows you to use it in place of the crappy webcam that you have on your computer. They're all terrible. All of them are terrible. So that's why we didn't even cover it, because they're all terrible. Forget about it. Don't think about using your the webcam on your computer. You need something else. They're all terrible. All of them. So let's talk about some of that. So obviously, a camcorder. There are a lot of really good camcorders. Panasonic makes them. Sony is known for their their camcorders, definitely, and they will all. The good thing is they're relatively affordable, right?
Then Canon also the Vixia.
Yes,
sorry, Vixia.
Vixia. Is it called? Is it the Vixia or is it the?
I said Via, but I think it's a Vixia.
Yeah, no. There was one particular model I was thinking of, and I can't think of it now. Okay. But you could. There are a lot of different models that will work. Again, when you're getting one, if you're not getting one that will automatically work with your computer, Spade of Ace is welcome on Periscope. What you need to do is get a capture card, but make sure whatever capture card that you're using, that it lists your particular model and brand as something that it will work with. Otherwise, it's a waste of money for you if you're intending to use it for live streaming. Now, if you're using if you're just shooting, I'm a fan of the DSLR mirrorless, to be honest. It gives you a better look. It gives you can get a nice look from a camcorder. Don't get me wrong. There you could get a really nice look, but if you want that dreamy cinema look, I would go with the camcorder or DSLR. The pro of the camcorder is it will run. It's made to run. So you could get beautiful images as well. And it's made to run for long periods of time. You could run for hours with that. Hours. Also, the focus is not a major issue with that. You never shoot on automatic focus, because what happens is every time you move or your subject moves, it tries to adjust and you get that blurry image. So you can, this is how you focus, guys, on a camcorder or otherwise. Zoom all the way in. Adjust the focus ring or press the shoot button, the shutter button to focus. Zoom out. You will be in focus. So that's what you could do. You also want to, we talked about white balance before. Automatic white balance is fine, but it's probably better to white balance it yourself. So all you have to do is, and there are instructions with whatever camera you get. You can also do this with your phone or your tablet. They have white balance there too, and the webcams. So, but the webcams tend to be more automatic white balance. What you're going to do is take a white sheet of paper, not the shirt you've had since 1982 that you think is white. Take the white sheet of paper, press the white balance, and white is a combination of all colors, guys. So all colors together in the spectrum make white light. So white basically reflects every single color. To make sure you get your truest blue, your brightest pink, the most vibrant green, you do a white balance, and then that makes sure that you get the true color coming into your camera. That's why you do white balance. Okay, so the other pro is it gives you great image quality, as I said. What are cons? You need a capture card and or converter, right, in order to do this. You don't have that cinematic effect. You can still get the shallow depth of field, but it's harder to get with a camcorder, okay? And then you need a computer for all of this. So those are the pros and the cons of that. But honestly, let me say, for live streaming, I think your camcorder is going to be your best bet. It's going to give you the longest running time. It's going to give you the best image for that long running time. You're not going to have a whole lot of focus issues. You can attach all sorts of different microphones. So you could do a tabletop mic. You could do a shotgun mic. You could also attach the lavalier mics, right?
Right. And I think with the camcorders, you just have a really nice price range. I mean, it's just several different price points that you can choose from. And
so, oh my gosh, from all the way up to like $10,000, all the way down to like $200. So you've got a wide range of the things that you could do. And you know, I would say don't discount recommendations from people in terms of these things. But I am a fan of, if you're going to do a studio setup for live streaming, I'm a fan of getting camcorders, right? Some good quality camcorders and doing that, because there's so much less to worry about than hooking up DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. So that would be my recommendation. I don't know if you have a different one, Curtis.
I just would say just find something that works for your budget and just kind of just do it consistently. And I think the natural progression would be is that if you are using a mobile device and you want to step up to something, I guess of a more finer quality or more refined, if you will, you step up to a DSLR or even, as Dr. Chachi mentioned, a camcorder. I think that it's one of those things where it's that when you make that decision, again, if you are going to make that investment, it's just really to have a good idea is that to make sure that when you're in, and that you're going to make a way to monetize it, because this equipment, it can get pretty expensive. And, as Dr. Tachi mentioned early on about a lens that she's interested in, I don't know how much it costs, but as she also mentioned, as she also mentioned, the camera can cost you $800 or $1,000. Okay, that's an investment. But a lot of times when you're buying the professional DSLRs or mirrorless cameras, they're coming without the lens.
So good point. When you get it, get a kit.
Yeah.
Get it. That's going to be the most cost-effective way. But just research the lens so that you're not getting a cheapo lens with it, because sometimes they'll put together a kit and just give you any lens. Just be aware that you could get the lens kit, because sometimes then it gets even more frustrating. Like, oh damn, well, which lens do I get?
Oh yeah, that's another.
A medium lens is going to get. Well, let's not do this now. We'll do another separate thing for people who are interested in DSLR shooting and mirrorless shooting. We'll do a whole other thing on that, and that can help you. And then obviously how to hook it up to your thingy. Let me go to the room for a minute. On Facebook, Brigetti has a lot of great stuff to say. I agree. It's best to get it right from the beginning. Amen. Brigetti also says, nice for realtors. Yes, absolutely. The drones are, but like I said, I'm seeing all this video and everybody's starting to look the same. Part of the thing is, okay, so I'm not to toot my own horn, but I'm a filmmaker. So I approach everything from a storytelling perspective. If you just go and get some wedding videographer, which is great, they're not thinking like a filmmaker makes things. So I'm telling you, think like a filmmaker. Think story.
Right. Absolutely, Tachi.
Think story. Brigetti also says, excellent, Curtis, about storytelling. Yeah, that was a great thing. Also, Jose says drones don't have to be airborne. They can be shot on a mobile wheeled or watercraft. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But the point of having a drone, right, initially is for those beautiful aerial shots. But you are right. They could be shot on mobile wheeled or watercraft. But then do you need to spend the money for that? If you're going to do wheeled, why can't you do a dolly and learn to do stuff smoothly, right?
Right.
Just saying, you don't have to spend that kind of money. If you're going to do that, then I would not buy a drone. That's just me.
But again, I think that even if you are buying a drone, it's just that be prepared to, like I said, if this is something that you want to do again, starting with your mobile and maybe a DSLR, a professional camera, or a drone, just make sure that you have a plan to monetize it, because at the end of the day, if you're spending money and not bringing that in, that's going to eventually create a problem. And again, it's hard not to say that it's not about money, but the reality of it is that if you are spending this money, you've got to have some kind of assurance that you're going to get it back, or at least create that assurance that you're going to get it back, something of value so that people can use.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point. Kusei on LinkedIn had a request for a drone scope. And we can absolutely do that because guess what? My neighbor is also a filmmaker and he has a drone. So I can have him come and we can talk about drone stuff. So that absolutely can work. You there, Curtis?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just making sure. All right, Carlos says real estate people can make great use with gimbals. Yes, yes. In fact, I prefer that to seeing 10 million drone scopes.
Well, even here, especially in the Dallas area and surrounding areas, drones are huge. And I think Brigetti mentioned about the drones for real estate. And for real estate, they're absolutely huge because I don't know how many people I've mentioned or met over a period of time have mentioned about the drones. Oh, do you use drones? And I don't have a drone.
Because they don't know any other way. I'm not trying to say they don't know anything else.
But you're absolutely right. But again, that appears to be the end thing right now.
Mm-hmm. People like the end thing.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Like how many followers do you have?
Exactly.
But that doesn't necessarily matter. But see, people, your clients don't know. This is why you have to know your stuff and why you have to explain, and why I explain to people. People are, oh, do you do drone work? I'm like, I don't, because I'm in the process of getting a drone, but I don't have it yet. But I don't use the drone. I would not use the drone for everything because I think you could tell a story differently without using it. That doesn't mean don't use it. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I've seen things where the entire thing is just drone. They fly into the damn house. They go here, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's sweeping. But what I'm not seeing is the story behind that house. All you're showing me is the house. You're not showing me the love that went into this. You're not showing. There's a story behind it. So be a storyteller. Don't just be a video maker, if that makes sense.
It does. But here's what a lot of people are doing, though. They're actually, because see, music has it's just, music is powerful. And so when you are putting together a video or even a live stream, you got some kind of music playing, the music to kind of set the tone for what you're live streaming about. Music is absolutely powerful. And I think what I've seen a lot of people doing is they're not necessarily telling a story, but they're putting that slow melody music, or, something, that with the quick shots, or or you just, the music is just really going to tell, the music is going to tell a story in addition to the voiceover, if you will.
So I agree with you to an extent. And this is why. Music montage was the first thing we learned in film school. Mm-hmm. That's when you obviously, you're not having any talking. It's easier to do because really to modulate voices, and it's difficult. You have to do a little bit of sound editing. So it's easier to just slap music on it. I do music montages all the time. Music is powerful, but there's a difference between using the music to tell the story and just doing it underneath, because guess what? Drones are loud. So you can't have sound. When you're doing drones are extremely loud.
Absolutely,
so you have to take out all of the sound and replace it with music. So you're not slick. We know why you have to use music, because drones are bloody loud. Let's be clear and let's be real, right? Okay, but that is not poo-pooing using music. I think it's great. I think use royalty-free music, use music that fits the mood. But I think there's again, I'm talking like a filmmaker, so we're gonna differ on some things, and I'm going to differ with some people that are not filmmakers, that are simply video, because they're like, whatever, I'm just trying to get but I'm looking at it like, I want you to pay, but I also want you to get a product that looks different from everybody. That's what's going to make you stand out, ladies and gentlemen. What am I doing that is different? How am I bringing the message or the cinematic quality or the sound? What am I doing that's different? So I want you all to think about that. This is just me saying this. I want you to think about that, because I think that will make you stand above everybody else that's doing things in this ever growing crowded space, right? But I think it's great. I think it's great, but you only stand out and get recognized for doing things when you do stand out. So that's what we're trying to help you.
Yeah, and I think in addition to what you're saying is that how can I tell a story different than the other, the other business owner or other videographers or services where they've created different videos or have done a live stream? How can I tell a story different, but keeping the same keeping those same points or fundamental points of value intact.
How does the camera disappear and my story become front and center?
Yes,
this is what you want. You don't want to think about all of that. You don't want your audience to think about. You want that to disappear.
Absolutely. You want them to be engrossed and
yes,
absolutely.
Yes. And Carlos says drones is like hip hop. Everyone does it. Yes, Carlos, you took the words right out of my mouth. You really did. You really did. Let's see. And Brigetti says, hashtag story matters. Yes, absolutely. Real estate videos should be like MTV music videos. They should. They would be a hell of a lot more engaging, because I know the point is to buy the house and you're just trying to sell the house. I get it. But if you have one edge over everybody else that is using a drone to do it, that could be something. Okay, let's see. So actually, we are at time, and we have covered this sufficiently. So just to recap, we recapped the 3 types of cameras that you can use. That is your that we talked about 2 weeks ago. That is your phone/mobile device. That's your webcam, and that's your DSLR/mirrorless. And this week we added in the fact that you can also use camcorders. And for me, that if you're going to be doing live streaming and trying to hook up external cameras, this is what will give you the best image to me. So we talked about that. We've also talked about how story matters. I think at the end of the day, all of this is start with where you are. You don't have all this, that's okay. Start with where you are. Start with the phone that you have. Build your content. And then, as Curtis says, get progressively better and care about enough about your audience to get progressively better, right? So start with where you are, get progressively better. And then, research, right? Research all of this stuff. Don't just buy. We're trying to help you, but research and see what works for you. I think another cool tidbit that came out of this, if you didn't know, you can rent DSLR and mirrorless cameras. So you could check all these things and test these things out for yourself before you delve into buying one. I think on Borrow Lenses, you can rent a Canon 7D for like maybe $100 for the whole week.
Right.
They ship it to you, you ship it back. So, you can rent these things and play around with them and say, okay, I think this is what you want, what I want to do. It's, if you want to play around, I think it's more worth for you to buy a webcam rather than renting one.
Right.
But, check it out and see what works. All right. Any final words, MC?
Oh, great show.
This was a good show.
Absolutely.
This was a good show. So next week,
questions as well.
Yes. And I think somebody wants to say goodbye. She'll be back again next week.
See you, G.
See you, G. So if you have any questions, you can absolutely email us. Well, check us out on social media. Why don't we give social media? We don't have one specifically for the show, but you can reach Curtis on. How can they reach you on social media?
Okay, on Facebook, it's going to be Curtis Brooks Media Pro on Facebook. Right?
Okay.
You can find the shows there. And also on Twitter or Periscope, it's going to be, I believe it's Curtis Media Pro on Twitter.
Great. Fantastic. For me, you can reach me. First of all, Curtis and I do another show on Wednesdays called Mediascope. He's the producer for Mediascope. That's where I talk all about media tech and pop culture news every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook Live, WJMSradio.com, and LinkedIn Live. You can see us on any of those platforms. It's a lot of fun. You guys have to, if you think this is a hoot, you guys have to join us for Mediascope. That's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, Tachi really acts up there.
You'll see. You forget that these people are leaving and you're going to be left with me.
No, I was just joking.
And then you can reach me on Twitter at Tachiada, TACHIADA. Instagram is a big one for me. I am Dr. _Tachi, TACHI, where you can send me a DM if you like, and send me a message about any of this stuff. I am on LinkedIn, Chatachi A. Egwu, but probably the best way are the Twitter and the Instagram. That's the quickest. Just at me or DM me. And that is it. So, guys, you have been so wonderful. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, on Periscope, on LinkedIn Live, and on YouTube for bearing with us for all of this stuff. And thank you for welcoming us back after a 2-week hiatus. So we will see you next week.
All right. Ciao, everybody.
Cheers.